Hi, welcome back. It's Marjorie from the Red Resistance podcast. Hulu just released a trailer for season 6 of The Handmaid's Tale. It's the final season, and I'm here to do a little trailer breakdown with you. So let's just get into it. The trailer starts off with a voiceover from June saying, "For years, we've been afraid of them." And we get a shot of the handmaids filing into the pews. It's like an aerial shot. You're gonna see more of these handmaids in this like church pew setting. It makes me feel like it's the Serena wedding setup, but that could be wrong. With that voiceover, we got two old shots. There's from season 1. There's the one of June and Moira at the protest right before Gilead is shifting into Gilead. I think it's right when they lose access to their bank accounts, and there's the protest that they go to that turns violent. And so we get a shot of that, and then we get a shot of them taking Hannah in the woods in that very first scene in the first episode. And then the second part of that statement is, "And now it's time for them to be afraid of us." We get really quick shots of them in that situation. So it's Serena, Fred, and Lydia. So with Serena, that shot looks new. I don't think I remember seeing a turtleneck like that. It could be old, but it's kind of hard to tell. That looks like a new shot of Serena, so it looks like we're probably going to see her back in wives' clothes, and there's a million other shots of that in this trailer. So I'm guessing this is a new shot, but she's the them in this situation. And then we have Fred, and we already know that he's dead, so that's done with. And Lydia's going to be a really big player in this season. They are filming the Testaments right now, and Dowd is going to be taking Lydia into the new series. So if you haven't read the Testaments yet, this is the time to do it. I think we're going to really be able to see how they bridge the Handmaid's Tale into the Testaments. And on this podcast, we've done a lot with that book, and I just reread it, so I'm really, really excited for the Testaments. Crumbs that we'll still get. I know this is the Handmaid's Tale, and they are doing a whole new series where they're going to take that story and run with it from there, but I still think there's a lot at the end of this story that we're going to see from the Testaments. So if you haven't read the Testaments yet, this would be a really good time. We have maybe like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 episodes on our podcast that you can go brush up on as well. We really do an in-depth, as Roxy put it, militaristic style book club with that book. So go check it out. It's good. The Audible is excellent, and Dowd does the Audible for Lydia's portion. So if you want a more immersive read, that's definitely a great option as well. Then June's voiceover continues with, "Now it's time for them to be afraid of us." And we get a shot of a pack of handmaids standing in front of what feels like that same church they were walking into, but I guess it could be anywhere. Now, in this shot, we get to see that in the front of this pack of handmaids, it's June and Moira. And it's possible that this is a flashback or that they've been recaptured, but by the end of this trailer, it feels like June is definitely working with Mayday, which, spoiler alert, with the Testaments, we know that's going to be true. We know June is going to work with Mayday. So again, that's why I feel like this is like a very good segue and bridge into the Testaments, because we're seeing all the things that we know to be true in the Testaments coming into play here. And so one of those things that June is going to work with Mayday, and that just feels like that's what's happening in this trailer. So my assumption is that this isn't her being recaptured. This isn't a flashback. This is her going in undercover back into Gilead, which is referenced throughout the trailer. So I think that's safe to assume. So we get June and we get Moira fighting together to take down Gilead, because she says now it's time for them to be afraid of us. So June, Moira, and the pack of handmaids. Then we get a new voiceover, and it's a man saying, "We need to hold those terrorist rebels accountable." And it's a shot of, I thought it could be Nick, but I'm pretty sure this is this new commander that we're going to see throughout the rest of this trailer. And he is looking out in what I imagine is New Bethlehem. Like, this looks exactly like the New Bethlehem that Larry was touting and touring throughout season 5. So this feels the same. I'm going to assume through the rest of this trailer that this is New Bethlehem. If I'm wrong, then we will readjust as we begin to watch season 6. But I'm going to call this New Bethlehem, this setting. So then we see a shot of New Commander's face, and it is made to feel in this trailer like he's talking to Nick. And whether or not he is in this scene, I do think that this is going to be two major players, either an adversary or an ally for Nick, but I don't see a situation where this guy's going to be an ally. It doesn't seem like it from what he's saying in this trailer. And his voiceover continues with, "They need to be reminded who they're dealing with," as it cuts to Nick. So I am thinking, I wonder if Mackenzie comes back, or if he's higher than Mackenzie, or if Mackenzie has put him there to keep watch on Nick. I don't know. We don't know much about this guy at all from this trailer, so that'll be interesting. So this is the first time in the trailer that we see Nick. And the last time that we saw Nick in season 5, we know that he was, I mean, I wouldn't say he was like in prison, but he was definitely in some kind of commander timeout after he punched Larry. And Rose is very unhappy with him. We know Rose's father is very important in Gilead, very high up. So I don't know. I don't know who this new commander is, but he doesn't seem like he's going to be a ally to Nick. Then we get a voiceover from Moira saying, we can't just let them win. And we see a map of Gilead. Then they cut to a shot of Tuello and Moira, and they're the ones looking over this map. It looks like they're in Tuello's office, I would imagine. So last we saw them, or at least the last we know of the people in which they orbit around, June is on a train west. Luke's in legal drama in Canada, facing murder charges, and captured. He surrendered and turned himself in, and we don't know what becomes of that. So that does kind of leave Tuello and Moira here to pick up the pieces, and it looks like this might be one of their first shots that we see of them in season 6, and they're just trying to get their feet under them of what their next move is. So they're looking at this Gilead map. We do see that they're named like districts and directions, so fine. Hunger Games, I'm sure there's plenty of other places that do it too, but Gilead's now districts. But it looks essentially like the continental United States is now Gilead. Then it cuts to a shot of Tuello saying to the camera that Mayday is working on a plan to kill extremist terrorists. And it cuts to a shot of June walking into this warehouse kind of setting. It's kind of hard to tell. My first thought was that it could actually be like some kind of displaced refugee center as she's getting off the train, but it does feel more like an underground Mayday kind of meeting. We get a shot of what I think is the exact same scene, just her shot from the front. I think it's really interesting that we have Tuello mentioning Mayday. I think this is the first time that he's acknowledged Mayday and what they're doing. I believe they've been trying to kind of circumvent the United States government, and June seems to be more of a bridge between Mayday and Tuello now, but I could be wrong. I'd have to go back and look at what Tuello was saying in the past, but I don't believe I remember him mentioning Mayday. I think June just found out about Mayday through Moira in last season. So yeah, so it seems like at this point, Tuello is willing to work with any and everyone. And we kind of get that from the trailer. By the end, June is saying like everybody that hates Gilead needs to work together. So here, it seems like Tuello and the United States government have begun sharing information, at least, with Mayday. Then we get a shot of Luke holding a gun saying, if you want to fight, then let's fight together. And it cuts to a shot of him and June. And it looks like they are together in that scene, like he is saying that statement to her. I'm fascinated by how quickly they're reunited, because I was really torn apart by the way in which they had to say goodbye to each other at the end of season 5. And Luke turned himself in, kind of like fell on that sword in order to get June and Nicole on that train. And that seemed like it was going to be a big hurdle for them to get back together, but I don't think it was. And I'm really curious to see how that played out. But regardless, they're clearly here together, and based on that last scene of her walking into that like meeting, and because it's being shown in this statement with Tuello about Mayday, and then Luke saying like to fight together, yeah, I would say that this is the two of them in the very beginning stages of this Mayday underground operation that they're going to be a part of. Then we get a shot of June in Econo clothes, and she's in the back of a van. And the next shot is of Luke in Econo clothes closing that van. This is old hat for June. She's constantly being shut into a van and transported around. But we haven't seen June and Luke in Econo clothes together in Gilead. I'm so fascinated by this. This is going to be really, really fun to watch. All of those shots happen while Luke is making that statement, let's fight together. And then it cuts to June in that red jacket that we see a couple times throughout this trailer. Looks like before she's going back into Gilead Underground. But it's just a shot of June and breathing a sigh of relief. And I just like that they put that right after Luke's statement and then show them going back into Gilead together, because we know that since she's got to Canada, she's felt like she's spinning her wheels and she wants to enacts some change. Like, she didn't get out of Gilead just to be safe. She got out of Gilead to take Gilead down. And she hasn't been able to find her footing the way that she thought she would be in Canada up until this point, especially not with Luke. And so to see them teaming up and going back into Gilead and her just kind of breathing that relief of like, yes, we're on the same page. Let's do this. Makes me very excited too. Then we get a quick silhouette shot of Serena saying, God has a plan for me. And I guess Serena has not changed her tune in that sense. That is nothing new from Serena there. And then we cut to a new shot where she's in this red floral dress and she's looking way more haggard than we've ever seen Serena. It's an interesting choice. We see her in red. The next couple shots of Serena are like progressively less red. It goes from this like flower red to a red suit to like a pink dress to a wedding dress to blue again. So even in this trailer, we see this progression of Serena from like where we left her as essentially her own Serena version of a handmaid throughout season 5. And then she is still wearing red. I just thought it was really kind of funny to see her in red. But we know that she's going to get married based on this trailer and go back into Gilead. So it was kind of cool to see that progression through this trailer. So we see her in flowers here and she is looking just more haggard. She's been put through it. We know Serena's been put through it, and I'm really curious to see where she comes out on the other side. God has a plan for me, and I cannot hide from his plan anymore. I don't know what she thinks his plan is. I'm hoping this plan is some kind of like growth and learned experience for her, that she is going to change her course at this point. But I've been proved wrong by Serena many times, and I'm not willing to assume that she is not going to be an antagonist in some way in this season. But we'll see. God has a plan, and she's not going to hide from it anymore. What does she think she's been hiding from his plan since? That's what makes me think she's changing at some point. Like, this is going to be a shift in Serena, because I mean, I think that's what she's always been operating under, is this like God's plan for her, and hopefully this is an awakening of what God's plan actually is for her. We shall see. In the next shot, we see a bunch of black vans going into this like gated community, and this is what I imagine is New Bethlehem, and now we're back in Gilead. Then we see a shot of Serena in this like red dress suit, pantsuit, red blazer of some sort, and she is appearing to be one of the passengers in one of these vehicles. It looks like she might be going to tour New Bethlehem. I'm not sure at what point this will be and how she's going to get from train west to New Bethlehem. In red. I don't know why I'm so tripped up by her in red. It's just such a different thing to see Serena in red. So hopefully this is signaling some differences with Serena. And the next shot is that New Bethlehem shot again. So I feel like they must be signaling that this is where she'll be landing as well. Then we get a shot of Larry saying, "We broke this country and now we have to fix it." And it comes right off of a shot of Serena, and the next shot is going to be of Serena too. So I can't imagine that he's not talking to Serena. I mean, he might not be talking to Serena in this scene when he says this line, but I feel like he must be. They did break this country, and now I really, really would like to see the two of them working together to fix it. We know from season 5 that they kind of planted these seeds like they would get married, and we know how that played out. And I'm assuming that Larry is still going to get married to Naomi at this point. So, and we know that Serena's going to get married to this new commander guy. We see it later. As far as I can tell, I could be way wrong here. I'm assuming that's what they're showing, is that Serena will get married to new commander and not to Larry. But it does seem like they are going to be working together as allies, hopefully to take down Gilead. I'm assuming that's where Serena's going, but I just don't want to say that and then be proved wrong as she turns into this like even bigger supervillain than she's already been in the series. I don't think after season 5 and everything she's been through that she can still get behind Gilead and their ideals. But we've seen crazier things with Serena. So, and then that last final shot is of Serena looking like she's in some kind of New Bethlehem house touring what could be her living situation. And she's in this like satiny, dusty pink dress, it looks like. So yeah, different. Now we're slowly easing into Gilead blue. Then we get a shot of Nick saying, "This is Gilead. The only person you can trust is yourself." But the next shot is of June, and it kind of looks like they're in the same location, these two shots. And we know that Nick and June always have to meet up in these like clandestine kind of like shadowy spaces. So I'm not sure if this is the two of them having this conversation. I just like that that statement from Nick is very true on the surface, but I feel like by them showing June in that next shot, it's kind of like knowingly contradicting because June has always been able to count on Nick. That has been something that we've seen steadfast through this series, is that she can count on him to come through for her. Then we see a shot of Janine, and she is looking way different than we've ever seen Janine on this show. We get Lydia saying, "I'm trying to give you a way out." And we see a quick shot of Janine at a vanity. And this has to be Jezebel's. I'm not really sure where else this could possibly be besides Jezebel's. She's smoking a cigarette. She's in front of a vanity. She looks gorgeous. And the last that we saw her, she was going to have some consequences for what she said to Naomi. And we know that Larry is trying to put Lydia in her place, and he knows that Janine is very special to her, so I'm guessing that he moved her to Jezebel's. The next statement in the trailer is Janine responding to Lydia saying, "There is no way out." And it's crazy to think of Janine saying that at this point, because we've seen Janine get into so many tough spots and she's always finding a way out. And that's why Emily was so frustrated with her at the colonies, because she was convinced that God had a plan for her and that she's been in these tough spots before and she'll get out of them again. And it feels like at this point, she really is beaten down, or just there's a mental shift. I'm curious to see where Janine's headspace is after all that we've seen with her. She's been through so much, and now she's at Jezebel's. The next shot that we get is a hand reaching out to a plant. I have absolutely no idea whose hand this could be. The next shot is of June. It kind of looks like it's the same clothing. It definitely looks like the same setting, so could be June's hand. It made me kind of think it would be Hannah's hand. It just reminds me of some of the scenes we've seen with Hannah. That was my first instinct, that it was Hannah's hand, but it does look like it's the same setting of June that we see in the next shot. Now, the next shot of June, it's she still has a bruise on her eye, so I'm thinking this has to be one of the first things we're going to see from her. This looks like the closest we've seen to where we left her in season 5 physically. So there's this bruise on her eye. She's outside. We're going to see in a couple shots later that this is like, there's this road that she's walking outside. It looks like it's potentially Alaska. It's definitely U.S. territory. Wherever she is, there's a U.S. flag. Could be Mayday. Maybe it's that Mayday underground situation that she walks in on. I think, is she wearing the same thing there? Is she wearing that red coat? I think she is wearing that. That could be the same outfit. So this might be her coming up on Mayday with that U.S. flag there. I don't think she took a train all the way west to Alaska. I don't know. Then you get a shot of what really feels to me like June and Serena. It's two women shot from behind, and it looks like they're sitting at some kind of memorial candle vigil. And I don't know what this could be for. I have a guess because we'll see later. I'll bring it up later. It's at the end of the trailer where we see that it looks like that train situation isn't going to go well for them. And I'm wondering if this is June and Serena in the aftermath of however they get off this train and however this train ride ends. So I'm not sure. I don't know what's happening here, but I'm really interested to see. But it looks like it's June and Serena, and it's some kind of memorial. Then we get a shot of Nick saying, "How many more bodies are you going to throw into the fire? When is enough enough?" The next shot is really quick of a sniper propped up aiming, but you can't really see where. The next shot is of the gun firing on a crowd of Econo people. And you see a quick shot of June kind of like jumping for cover, ducking, hiding behind this like stack of wooden crates. She's outside and she's wearing that red jacket that we see a couple times. I'm not sure where this timeline is. I just know we see a couple shots from this. This isn't the same jacket that we just saw her in. When she's not in Gilead clothes, we've seen her in this like green jacket and we've seen her in this red jacket. So here she is in this red jacket. She's got this backpack on that we see a couple times, and she's outside and she's hiding from, so she's reacting to something. I don't know if she's necessarily, it feels like she's hiding from that gunshot, but this is two very different scenes. I don't think these are meant to be together at all. The gun firing on the Econo people and her jumping behind. Then we hear Tuello answering Nick, and he says, "When there's no one left to fight." And this shot looks like it's definitely in the same scene as the statement that Nick is saying. It's dark. There's those same slots of light. The next shot is of a chessboard and a king falling over. Then there's a really quick shot of June in that like dark clandestine room that I think she was talking to Nick in, or dark I don't even know if it's a room, might be a space behind a room. And then we get a shot of the American flag, and it's got its 2 stars. And we know that, I think we know. I'm assuming, I don't know if we know, if we're just assuming. It's got to be, yeah, they mention it. There's Anchorage and there's Alaska. There's only so many places they can go, these Gilead refugees. So there's the United States flag with its 2 stars. Then we get 2 shots of June. The first one is close up, and you can see her face, and she's got that bruise on her eye and that green jacket, and she's outside. And it looks like she's looking up. The next shot is of an aerial view of this road that she's on. And I'm guessing this is Mayday territory, and they're flying that flag. That's got to be it, right? I doubt they're in Anchorage or Honolulu. So I feel like wherever this is the Mayday underground operation, where she's going to get reunited with Luke, and she's arriving for the first time because this bruise on her eye is really fresh. So it looks like she's looking up at this flag, wherever this location is. Then we get another quote from Luke. This scene is from the same one that we've seen earlier, where he's sitting next to June, and it looks like they're probably outside. It's kind of dark. Earlier we saw he had the gun, and he was saying, let's fight together. In this one, he says, we're just 2 lunatics going into Gilead on a wing and a prayer. And this statement makes me laugh so much, because all of season 5 was really June kind of like testing the waters with like, how crazy would it be if I went back into Gilead? Because I really think I need to go back into Gilead. And everyone's like, no, that's crazy, that's crazy. And I feel like at this point we've gotten to the point where everyone's like, yes, crazy it is. But crazy times call for crazy measures. And that's where we're at in this final season. The next shot is of June in Econo clothes in front of some kind of furnace. It's definitely giving me some season 3 vibes with, what's that commander's name? Commando Winslow. The next shot after that is her putting something into this furnace. It's very unclear what's happening here other than that, but definitely reminds me of Winslow. Then we get a shot of June saying they will never see us coming. And it's followed up by a shot of somebody in Econo clothes. I kind of thought it was a Martha, but I'm pretty sure this is June in the Econo clothes that we've been seeing her in. And this feels to me like a commander parking garage, like somewhere where they work and they have their meetings, and now he's exiting work for the day. I could be putting a lot of assumptions onto the scene, but that's what it feels like. We don't get a lot of context. It just feels like a parking garage here with some Econo person walking up in front of these headlights. But the next shot is of Larry, and it's definitely the same location. He says, oh, hell no. His reaction makes me think that has to be June. We've seen June in those clothes in this trailer. And that's just a reaction that Larry would have to her, especially with her statement in the last shot of this trailer saying they'll never see us coming. Then there's a shot of the handmaid sitting in the pews passing box cutters down the rows. There's a close-up of one of the blades opening, and then you get a shot of June in her handmaid's clothes. I'm sure there's plenty of old footage to use of June in a handmaid's outfit. This feels like June in new territory, and it fits with what her voiceover is saying as she says, let the revolution begin. This feels like a new direction for June. This isn't Offred in Gilead. This is June in Gilead as a handmaid, and it's going to be really interesting to see the ways in which they've changed June. They're going to have to contend with the person and the people that they've created. There's a quick shot of a wedding, and you can't tell from this shot that it's Serena, but the next shot is a close-up of her. So this is Serena's wedding, and it's big, it's an event, it's a production, and that should not be surprising at all. If there's anything we know about Serena, she's going to make it into an event to serve her purpose. It's just unclear what her purpose is here and who she's marrying. The way in which she's flanked by handmaids in this shot makes me think that those handmaids in the pews with the box cutters, like that all has to be culminating into the same scene and the same event. But I don't know if that's true. I can see a way in which that's not necessarily what's happening here. I guess we'll see. The next voice we hear is Tuello, I believe, saying we may be beyond saving, but we've got to at least try. They're showing June and Luke in the shot, so it could be Luke. It just sounds so much like Tuello to me, but regardless. Then we get a shot of June and Luke kissing in the back of that van in the Econo clothes. And then it cuts to a shot of Nick, and it's not clear in that shot who he's looking at, but the next shot is of Rose, and it definitely looks like this is from the same scene, and he's looking up at her, and she's turning away from him, and she kind of looks like she's turning away in disgust and going back into the house. And I think this is the only time we see Rose in this trailer. The last that we saw of her, she was not very happy with Nick. She's also pregnant. She says that she doesn't want to be married to him when he basically says to her, like, I tried to forget about June, it's just not working. And she says, I don't want to be married to you anymore. But I don't really think she gets that choice, so I don't know what's going to happen with Rose. Maybe she's just going to go hang out with her very important family. We don't get a lot of them in this trailer. He doesn't seem to have smoothed things over with her yet, especially considering the next voice that we hear is Nick saying to June, sometimes I think you're the only good thing in my life, as they hug each other. Then we get a shot of handmaids at the gallows. It looks like the crowd is Econo people. It has a very season 2 opening scene feel, except for, well, that was all for show and to prove a point to June and the rest of the handmaids. This feels real. This is very ominous. It looks like all the nooses are around all of the handmaids' necks, except for one noose is still hanging, and there's one handmaid in the center, and I can only imagine that is June. Then there's a shot of Larry saying, I built this miserable hellscape, which is a great quote to put right after that gallows shot. That really chilled me. Then you get a shot of somebody pulling a pin out of a grenade. You can't tell in the shot who it is, but the next shot is of Luke in Econo clothes. I could be putting a lot of assumptions onto this, but I feel like he's going to disrupt this hanging scene from the crowd with this grenade. That's what I'm hoping, because I really don't like the fact that it looks like all these handmaids are about to get strung up. There's a shot of June in her handmaid's clothes saying, this is the beginning of the end. It's very fitting for a season 6 trailer. And there's a shot of Serena holding Noah. You can hear the chandelier rattling. Then she looks up and you get a shot of the chandelier. In the next shot, she's still holding Noah, but it's nighttime now. It was daytime when she was looking up at the chandelier. Now it's night. She looks like she's wrapped up in some kind of shawl or warmer clothes. She's holding Noah and he's all bundled up and she's asking what's happening. And Larry responds, rebellion. And it could be 2 entirely different scenes. I'm not convinced they're necessarily having that conversation together. But I guess that sums up the gist of what is happening and whatever is happening with that chandelier rattling and Serena looking like she's under attack in some way. Then you hear June's voice saying, rise up and fight for your freedom. But there's a really quick shot of a pack of handmaids walking at night. And Janine is standing behind June. That made me very excited. You can see her eye patch, and unless there's another eye patched handmaid, which it's entirely possible, it looks like Janine and June do get to reunite, and that's going to be really cool. I'm excited to see that. They've always been touchstones for each other in different ways of survival and humanity and getting through the day, and now in Resistance, to see them fighting side by side again. We almost saw them escape together, so it makes me really happy that while Janine is still stuck in Gilead saying there's no way out, June is coming back in to get her, because I feel like that was kind of a conversation that they had over the seasons as they were trying to escape when they were in Chicago, is once they're out, they'll be able to do more. And Janine and anyone in Gilead has always seen that once people get out, there isn't so much they can do for the people that are still stuck there. So to see June coming back and fighting side by side with Janine is really, really cool. I'm excited to see that. There's like a shot of the handmaids walking down the street at night. It looks like it's that same shot of June and Janine. And it's an aerial shot. Looks like they're in some kind of sword formation, which is kind of cool. Certainly phallic. So we get the shot of June saying, rise up and fight for your freedom. And it's kind of like intermingled with a lot of shots of like hand-to-hand combat with the handmaids, which is really cool because we know that this society has trained and taught them to vent their rage out and to channel their rage in this way. And so then you have June saying, take that rage and point it in the right direction. It's very Game of Thrones, kill your masters. But I really like seeing all the handmaids physically fighting in the streets. It's hard to tell what's happening, but there's just a lot of hand-to-hand combat. Those box cutters are coming into play. It looks like a lot of stabbing involved. And it's the handmaids against the Guardians and Eyes is basically what I can see. There's a really quick shot of June in Econo clothes kicking somebody on the ground. It looks like it's what would be her house or a house of the Econo person who she's playing. I don't know how she's getting there or why she's in Econo clothes, but she's in a house and she's kicking somebody on the ground. It's too quick to tell who that person is on the ground. I don't think it's somebody we can identify. But there's a really quick shot of that, and then there's a quick shot of Serena being lifted over a ledge, looks like out a window or something. And it looks like that's new commander, who we're going to see in another couple shots. They're like arriving home together. It just feels like he's here with her there, and there's another shot of them in a house. So I'm feeling like this is the guy that she marries. But he's helping her escape. It looks like they're under attack, and he's getting her out of there. Then you get the shot of new commander and Serena, and she's looking really happy. This has to be not in the same scene where they're under attack, but maybe this first scene where she's arriving to their new home. It looks like she's looking around and he's very proud to be showing her something, and they look happy. She looks really, really happy. So I'm so curious what's happening with Serena. Then there's a quick shot of June walking down a hallway in her handmaid's clothes, and you get Lydia saying, "Where is June Osborne?" And I just love hearing Lydia say her name. There's been so much about June's name and who she is, and Lydia really doubling down on her not being June. So for us to come to season 6 where she's just screaming her name out loud, and June looks like she's like stalking her back in Gilead. Like, it's really cool. I enjoyed that setup. I love it every time Lydia calls June by her name. And now she's got her full name, and that's even better. There's a really quick shot of somebody with a box cutter sliding that blade out with some kind of shadowy figure down the hallway. So it feels like it's June because we just saw her in a hallway, but I have no idea who this is. Then we get a shot of June in the woods, and she's turning away from some kind of interaction towards the headlights that are behind her. And in the next shot, it feels like that interaction she's turning away from is with Nick. They both seem to be in the woods. It feels very No Man's Land season 4 location, but I have no idea where they are. We just know every time Nick and June are together, it is some kind of clandestine, secret, shadowy location. Then we get a line from new commander saying, "This lie is going to get you on the wall." And the next shot is of June and Luke kissing. So that's ominous. Then we get a shot of some Econo people and some hand-to-hand fighting, and you can't see from this shot who it is. In the next shot, we see that it is Luke. And then we get a shot of him saying, "They've still got my daughter." Then there's some quick footage of some uniformed guards coming into a house. It feels like that house that June was kicking that person on the ground in. It also kind of feels like it could be Nick's house. Like, there was a shot of him at the top of the stairwell, and the lighting seems similar, but this could be anywhere. The most interesting thing to me in the shot is that we don't see Guardians and eyes looking like this. This looks more like U.S. military that we're used to, or military of some sort. They're in camouflage. We just don't see a lot of camouflage in Gilead. So I'm not sure who these people are. Then we get a shot of Serena screaming, "You're just like the rest of them." This looks like the same scene where she's asking what's happening. I don't know who she's talking to. It feels like this is Larry, but it could be anybody. Then we get one shot of Serena that looks like this might be the train. I feel like this is how she looked when we last saw her on season 5. This might be one of the opening scenes of season 6. I feel like this is exactly where we last saw her. Then the next shot is of June, and this also looks like she's on the train. It feels like the way they have Serena shot from the front and June shot from the back, that Serena is at least following or chasing or running also from something behind her. But June's clearly running from something. She whips her head around, you see her hair fly out, and she's looking behind her. Everyone else in the train car doesn't really seem to be too bothered by whatever she's running from, but she's running from something. It feels like Serena because they just showed Serena in a vantage point that looks like they're both on a train and Serena's behind her. I just don't know why Serena would be chasing her through the train at this point, so I'm guessing they're running from something else. Or I'm not even sure if Serena's actually behind her in the shot, but June is running from something. Then we get a shot of new commander yelling about something. It's really quick. He's kind of flailing his arms about. I thought he was hitting something at first, but I think he's just animated and yelling with his hands, and he's very angry about something. It does look kind of like the same setting where Serena's like fleeing and she's being like hoisted over the ledge and yelling about, what is this? And you're just like the rest of them. So I don't know what's happening in that situation, but this does seem like it's from that same time frame. Now, the next shot is of this train car, and it looks like whatever's happening in this train car, so it looks like the people can't get, like the door is locked and they can't get to the next train car. There's something that they're trying to get away from in that train car because they end up smashing the glass. So it's really quick. I don't know what's happening, but I'm guessing whatever train they're on or wherever they're heading to doesn't go well, and it goes badly very quickly in the beginning of season 6. Then we get a shot of underground Handmaid June, or what I'm imagining is underground Handmaid June of Mayday, and there's an explosion going off in the background. Then you get June's final voiceover of the trailer saying, "You use all of our friends, everyone and anyone who hates Gilead." And we get shots of a bunch of different people really quickly. So as she first starts saying it, you get a shot of Larry standing pensively by the window. So I'm guessing he is one of the people who hates Gilead. Now I'm not guessing. He says he says that's his motivation for this season is to take Gilead down. So the first shot we see is of Larry. He's going to help. The next shot is of Luke and Moira. They also hate Gilead and would like to take it down. There's a shot of Janine. She also hates Gilead, and I really, really want to see how she's going to help take it down. Then there's a shot of Rita. We have not seen Rita in this trailer, and we didn't get a ton from Rita in season 5, and I don't know what role she's going to take on in season 6, but she's in this trailer, and she also hates Gilead, so I'm excited to see where she goes. There's a pack of handmaids. They definitely hate Gilead. And then you get one final shot of June in her handmaid's clothes, full of rage, one tear going down her cheek. So that's the trailer. Season 3, April 8th. We have some things to think about. I would like to do another video where now that we've kind of broken it down and seen some glimpses into season 6, we can kind of rehash where all of those characters have gone so far and where they've come from. As far as their journeys from season 1 through 5 and the little glimmers of where we see that they're going to go in the future. So I'm going to try to at least do one more video prior to the season coming out. But we do have the screeners, so I'm going to get into analysis and recap very soon. I just don't know what that's going to look like yet. Right now, for this trailer breakdown, you're just getting me because I just want to get this done and get it out. And that's the issue that we're having right now, is just trying to figure out if we can all three of us get into the same room at the same time. So we are going to hash that out in the next couple days, and we'll figure it out. We will be back for season 6 in some capacity. It's just probably not going to look exactly like it has in the past. If you're anxiously waiting for April 8th, feel free to go back and listen to all the podcast episodes. I'm in the middle of doing that right now. Read the Testaments. I just reread that. There's some really great snippets in the Testaments that I'm looking for in season 6. There's also some stuff that I'm sure will be relevant once we start watching season 6. Lydia's character is huge. That's really going to be the major thing that I'm watching for, is Lydia and how she ends this season. And then we do know where she's going to go in the Testaments. So, all right. So that's a trailer breakdown. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that I missed or anything that I got misread or you read a different way. It's kind of weird talking into the ether here without my podcast buddies. Hopefully we'll all three of us be back very soon.